8.
You're watching The Experience Comic Culture and Sales. Streaming live daily to Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter.
2, 1.
Welcome. It's time for a minute to skim it. I just wanted to say hi. I think it's so cool when we get new members, especially when our new members are already doing shows on the network. Thanks, Midhunter. That's awesome. All right, we've got some really cool comic books to talk to you guys about today. Be kind to Kyle. He's grumpy because he had to read all of his books on a little itty screen.
Actually, what I wound up doing was having to delete my Dropbox, reinstall my Dropbox, re-sign up for Dropbox with a login I haven't had in years. It was a mess. But I was able to do it, and I only didn't get to read 2 books.
Well, that's impressive.
Right. I had to skim them.
There was a ton of stuff that was released this week, so... I just feel like there was a ton of like important stuff releasing this week. So
and some of my stuff, and we'll get to it, by the nature of the type of book they are written in the world's smallest text boxes. Like
Gaiman?
Yeah. Like the letterer had to use a microscope to letter the book. Worth it. But, oh my God, trying to read it on my phone. And I'm like, what's the one where you got to hold stuff close to your face to see it? I'm nearsighted.
It's farsighted because you're better at seeing far.
I can't see that either. No. I can only see when it's real close to my face. So I had to hold it real close to my face on my phone and then zoom in and do one of these numbers. And
you need one of those lights. I have an OT light at home because I also have got bad eyes now from years of reading tiny print.
It's true. Comics have made me blind.
I think it's screens for myself, but whatever.
Well, I'm going to blame comics because they're not here to defend themselves. And I can see my Mac. I can see my Mac in the other room getting ready to bow up on me. So let's get into the comics, Jay.
T-pose. Sorry. It's time for Blood Hunt. It's kind of cool because I was just out on the sales floor. Someone was picking up their very first Blood Hunt. So they were super excited. You know, kind of like, you know, how kids get excited where they just go from one leg to the other, just like do the dance. I was super excited for them.
The person didn't have to go to the bathroom?
No. I mean, maybe, but no.
Because it sounds like the Charlie Brown dance.
A little bit. Okay, so Blood Hunt has been ramping up. You have an entire group led by Voodoo / you know, other, like the entirety of Strange Academy, trying to get together all the bits and pieces they can to overpower, create this thing with the Darkhold to take over and create a way to defeat the Blade. You get to find out something in this issue that you probably suspected, or maybe has kind of been dropped as knowledge. You know, they've been the bad guy above all. They keep on mentioning this. I guess they've been calling him a demon lord, and I can't remember their name. It starts with a V. It's some kind of weird V name. And you're going to figure out some really crazy cool stuff. This series in its entirety is really paying off if you're reading other books in the past that now it's referencing back to. In this case, it references back to Blade 5 as being the first time this occurrence happened, and then it happened again so that Blade, it became permanent in Blade. So there's some big things. We're at 4 of 5. 4 or 5. There may or may not be vampires in this series. Small spoilers. This is true. And I have just enough inside information to tell you that there are things that are happening in these books that are going to continue on past the end of the series. It is not one of those things like the blood hunt ends. No, nothing is important anymore. It is very important, especially for one character that I know specifically. So it's been fun. I know that everyone was like, I don't know about another vampire series. This is really cool stuff.
Okay.
What a great cover.
So this was the only book I had to read on my phone. And I will say this, I am at a bad spot to be jumping into a new Doctor Who comic. I am massively behind. Miss Jen knows about my ill-timed out, poorly planned Doctor Who rewatch, wherein I went back to like 1963 and started watching Doctor Who over again before the 15th Doctor started. And then I remembered, oh yeah, there's Ted Lasso, there's Bear, there's stuff that I need to watch more relevant than Doctor Who from the 70s. So I stalled. I got as far as, my name is Rose Tyler and this is how I die. And then I stalled. Because also I need to go to therapy. Anyway, so this is the 15th Doctor as played by Judy Gatwa, and his companion, whose name I cannot remember. And it's this story is kind of reminiscent of Platform 13, the episode Platform 13, where the Doctor and his companion find themselves on a space station where they make all of the reality television. Like there's robots who actually vaporize you when you get it wrong on the weakest link. There are robots who wind up removing your skin in the name of fashion for, what not to wear kind of shows. That's the Doctor Who episode. They find themselves in a mall that is literally just a trap for the Cybermen.
Oh, I love Cybermen.
Right. The thing about Platform 13 is it was the Daleks,
mm-hmm.
who I like better. I'm a Dalek guy, but I like the Cybermen too. So this is a Cybermen story. Super fun. The thing about having the first gay or out Doctor, I don't know if it's technically the first gay Doctor, and you get into some of that Jack Harkness stuff where it's, look, if it has genitals, we're into it. So I don't know, but this is the first out Doctor. The banter between the Doctor and the companion was super fun. Sometimes, it can get very serious, but it was super camp, super goofy. They're in there, like the whole big try-on hall kind of thing. A super interesting way to introduce what winds up being a pretty scary Doctor Who story. So overall, Titan is doing good work. I still kind of miss the whole Marvel Doctor Who days from the 80s.
That's
where
a deep cut.
Where it was super what's the word I'm looking for? Superhero-y. But this was a lot more true to what the series is. And so I quite liked it. If you're a Doctor Who fan, this is a definite pickup.
Okay, I haven't seen any of this series at all. What is his special object?
I don't know. I haven't seen any of the series at all either. Okay. This is literally my first interaction with this Doctor. Because I'm so far behind.
You gotta put that on the screen, man. That's a long thing to read. Would you destroy the Cybermen with 4 Daleks? We would destroy the Cybermen with 1 Dalek. You're superior only in one respect. That is, you are better at dying.
You are better at dying.
Oh, so much better. I did not go to Juilliard.
I didn't either. I just watch a lot of Doctor Who.
I can read copy only. Okay. Self-help. This is super cool.
Owen King, baby.
Oh, yeah, all the time. Just like, this kind of feels like, in reality, something that could totally happen. Have you ever been a person who gets told over and over again, you look exactly like famous person X? I haven't, but I'm sure other people have. And that's what happens to this guy. This guy in the front here it seems like he's had a rough life. Life has ridden him hard and put him up wet. He is basically, doing Uber. They've got some kind of fun name for it, which I love it when they rename, rideshare stuff. But that's all he's doing. He gets mistaken for this famous guy all the time. All the time. And you get to also meet the famous guy, who is a big douche. He's full of himself. He's a self-help guy who does big, puts a whole bunch of people in the room and tells them, you can do your own stuff. Quit being a loser. And these two worlds converge on a rideshare. I'm going to let you just imagine what could have happened. It's an awesome start and a crazy premise for a series. You're going to be George Costanza? Love it.
Okay. So, I should have told Jay to put this later on in the thing, but whatever.
So you must have loved it?
No, just later on in the thing. It was fine. It was definitely the introduction to Anansi Boys. Almost word for word from the book.
Okay. Excuse me, hiccups.
Literally almost word for word from the novel, with the Sean Martinborough art. The thing I like about the Neil Gaiman Dark Horse adaptations is that they are so true to the original novelizations.
Do you think he asked for that? Do you think he's just like, this has to be?
Yeah, I think that's the deal. I think that's probably the contract.
Mm-hmm.
But my thinking on this book is I have such fond memories of Mr. Anansi from the first season of American Gods, where he was played by Orlando Jones, that I can't help but hear that voice, or the voice of Lenny Henry from the American Gods audiobook adaptation when I read this book. And I don't know that that's how it's supposed to sound. It's my big hang up, right? Mm-hmm. Because actually the story is told from the son of Mr. Anansi.
Oh.
For those of you who don't know...
Hence boys.
Right. For those of you who don't know, Mr. Anansi is the African trickster god. He's a spider. And this is the story of what happens when he dies. The interesting thing that if you've read American Gods, is that gods don't die until people stop believing in them. So, as long as there's some belief somewhere that he exists, then he lives forever. They're immortal. So, it's an interesting thing to see what happens going forward and how they handle that story. I know how the novel goes. I'll be interested to see how the comic does it.
Right. I think I saw today that this is actually going to be a show also.
But that's been a rumor for a long time. Okay. It may finally be moving now that some of the Neil Gaiman stuff is having success.
Mm-hmm.
Good Omens, Sandman, some of that Dead Boy Detectives kind of stuff.
Right.
But that's one that I'll just keep saying I'll believe it when I see it. Just because I've been waiting for this for like 15 years.
Yeah.
Like I said, the thing about it is I'm not sure what voice to use. And that takes me out of it a little bit. But very good book, very good story, very interesting novelization, very interesting adaptation of the novel. So we'll just see. Maybe do a handful of minutes of research on the Anansi lore and mythology before diving in. Otherwise, you could be very, very concerned that this book seems very, very racially insensitive.
So you're saying it's true to the character.
Yeah, especially when you consider it's written by Neil Gaiman. Now, it is adapted by Mark Bernardin, which I like. But yeah, do 5 minutes of research before you jump into it, just so you're not going in blind and going, why are they talking like that? So,
Oh, I'm so excited for this series. I hope everybody has jumped into the Ghost Machine somewhere. I know there's more books coming. They teased them all in the Ghost Machine like one shot that they put out. There's at least 2 more that are inbound that were introduced there. And then I'm sure there's going to be more in the universe later. Just as a kind of a synopsis to get you retied in, we screwed up and we messed the Earth up so badly that we had to like find something else to do. And so they've created a whole new planet. They populated it with like crazy sized creatures. Think dire wolves and tortoises that are as large as tanks and the like. And have put, and there's like a big kind of like, for lack of a better way to call it, imagine a giant computer that kind of like controls everything because nothing is really 100% biological. And then the people have been put in charge of big segments of the animal population. So Rook is in charge of all the rook-like birds, so crows and those kinds of things. And right now he's hanging out with another character named Direwolf, and she's of course, controls direwolves, which are terrifying. The cool thing about this thing is it's a 2-way street. So the rook-like creatures kind of like make him act a little bit like a bird would. Like it's just kind of like it influences his attitudes and all those kinds of things. And it's likewise for the direwolf. So she has been saying that, if you embrace them as real life creatures, you might not need the helmet as much as you think. And over all of this is this crazy person who is going around and killing the other helmet wearers. He wants to take over the entirety of this place. So it's cool. You get to meet one for sure helmet wearer here, who is the one who controls the tortoises. And then it introduces, so this will be his first appearance, and then it'll be cameo for like 12 or 13 more of them. So the art in these books is just so amazing. And they don't put anything super complex in the storyline. It's pretty straightforward. It's like, this is, we got these 2 guys trying to figure out how to not get killed by this bad guy, and they're trying to get together and figure out how they can prevent that. Pretty straightforward. I love it. I know, Barlord. I know.
Okay, so Ghostbusters back in town. Again, I'm just going to keep reminding people, takes place nearly immediately following and sort of during Frozen Empire. The timeline is a little bit off from Frozen Empire, from what's set by Frozen Empire. And I know because in this book they put the sign up. So that happens in the movie too. But it's supposed to be from the dialogue after Frozen Empire. Okay. So just know that that's a little bit of a. I'm sure David Boer had to write most of this before Frozen Empire came out, and maybe he got to watch a not final cut. So I'm not real. That part is not real important. Right, just know that if you've been going, okay, this happens after Frozen Empire. But we basically have a ghost who thinks they're a god, who is feeding off of the residual energy from the containment unit left by Vigo the Carpathian. Vigo. Anyway, and they're creating a new green sludge that is feeding off of, it's revealed in the book, and I don't want to spoiler it. But this is the catching of this creature and the family kind of finally coming together as Ghostbusters. There's also a couple of very funny Janine lines that I like in this book.
Isn't anything Janine says funny?
pretty much, but it's like she makes a smoothie and it's pretty funny. And she tries to push a guy off of a garbage can while trying to avoid getting into the slime. And she makes a reference to the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man. So that's fun. I would like to see this series continue. I think they're telling good stories and developing the mythos of this Ghostbusters unit in a good way. I don't think they should go too far with it. It would be easy for them to do one of two things. Keep going back to the well of, Gozer the Gozerian and, more Vigo stuff and things we know from the Ghostbusters films. Which I think would be a mistake because then it would just be a retread of the same thing we've seen already. But I also know how easy it would be for somebody like David Boer, who's a great writer, to start going out there and creating things that could stretch it beyond the capabilities of what they can do with the films. So I think it's a very fine line for him to walk, but I think he's doing a good job, and I would like to see this continue. There are also a bunch of great Phoebe one-liners or little jokes in this that are pretty great. But I didn't write any down this week because I had to save room in my brain for the jokes from Lester of Lesser Gods. So, unfortunately, that is not a thing we can discuss. But no, I really like this book so far. It's been a super fun Ghostbusters book.
Sweet. Ooh, Feral. Okay, I mean, this is a pretty straightforward story so far. The drama's been amongst the cats. So there's a big group of cats that have gotten together in the middle of what is essentially been a rabies pandemic, in which they kind of like cordoned off one big area. People have all left that area, and anybody that has an animal is supposed to be turning it in. Although it's clear that some cats got left behind, and some dogs, and then all the wild creatures, which I guess there's been like the reveal, there's been like, it was a good year for making more babies, I guess. So there were many more than usual. There were wild animals, and that wild animals can get this horrible rabies also. So up until now, this big group of cats has been trying to find their way back to one of their homes. And they actually pull that off this week. So they actually get there, but what they find there isn't what you're really expecting. There is some funny parts where there is no food there, but one of the cats has decided they want it to chew on the remote, like a cat would do, I guess. And there's some funny parts where they're trying to figure out what the TV is. There's they don't ever figure out that there's an interaction between this cat chewing on the remote and what the TV is doing. But it's kind of a cool way to tell a story because while they're doing this and changing the channel, you actually just get to see what's happening in the world. How far it spread, how they think it's spreading, what's going on. And I think that's pretty cool storytelling. So, and there is a big twist for this one. It's just amongst the cats themselves. So enjoy.
Are you ready?
Okay.
We finally have a Godzilla book where I'm not going to yell about a Godzilla book being about people and not about Godzilla.
Is there many Godzilla parts?
No, there's only 2 Godzilla parts.
Oh.
But the story that they're telling here would make Lin-Manuel Miranda rewrite Hamilton.
Oh.
Did you guys know that Godzilla is a part of a secret cabal that goes all the way back to pre-Roman times and feudal Japan? Yep, apparently he is. In this story, it talks. This book is about. This is second by the way volume of Godzilla. Here there be dragons, sons of giants. It starts off telling a story about a samurai whose master is killed by Godzilla. And in order to save his honor, he has to fight Godzilla. Well, if you're a dude with a sword versus Godzilla, how do you think that's going to go?
Mm-hmm.
So he winds up getting killed by the Godzilla, which is what's supposed to happen. But his sword is saved, and it is passed through the generations of this secret clandestine organization as a talisman. And you're following a reporter who approaches Aaron Burr after the whole feud with Hamilton thing happens, and asks Aaron Burr why Hamilton had a coin in his pocket with Godzilla on it.
Oh, wow.
And starts to unveil that maybe the founding fathers, while most of us, I've heard the rumors that they were Freemasons, were actually part of a secret Godzilla-based cabal, where they are servants of Godzilla. And then it cuts to the time when Godzilla invaded Rome and led to the fall. Godzilla led to the fall of the Roman Empire. And yeah, it's just a really fun idea that kind of gives more mythos to Godzilla other than the kind of the same retreads we've heard for years, right? Like now we're talking about, instead of it just Godzilla comes out of the water, Godzilla destroy Tokyo, whatever. Now it's Godzilla comes out of the water and quashes the Roman Empire, which is now my Roman Empire. And the founding fathers all knew about Godzilla and were trying to protect Godzilla. And Hamilton was going to out them, and that's why Burr actually shot him. I could get behind that story.
Godzilla Illuminati?
Yeah. I prefer Secret Kaiju Cabal.
That one's good.
But, you know, either way, this is an interesting Godzilla story that's not super about Godzilla. So, you know.
A Kali ball.
A Kai ball.
Kai ball.
No, we're going to go with a Kaiju Cabal because I like the syllabic rhythm.
Right, we'll just keep naming things.
Burning down the house.
All right, Zatanna. This one kind of goes back to her as a kiddo. Introduces her as doing, you know, that like the shell game where you like put the ball under the 3 cups, and she can't even do that right. I guess she has this like I don't know. I don't know if she's thinking she's doing her tricks well, but then just like I can't do it right. And something happens during her childhood. They don't tell you what it is. They jump forward in time to where she's like basically a Vegas act, but not a good Vegas act. One of those Vegas acts where you get to go there for free with a purchase of the water park ticket. And there is a lady that keeps showing up at her show. She dresses differently every time. It's like she wears like wigs or sunglasses or all kinds of crazy things. And she wants to know what is up with this girl. She's obsessed with figuring out why this one person comes to her show when there's only like maybe 10 people in the audience because it's not a great show. She's very specific about saying she doesn't do magic. She only does tricks. And all of those things I just told you will all come full circle to make for a really cool origin story. So enjoy. You don't have to know a single daggum thing about Zatanna. Just read this book. What is going on?
Jay?
Devils?
Jay, would it be possible to have you know those are knob goblins?
No knob goblins.
Jay, would it be possible for you to load the first image I sent you from inside the book? I have permission from Eric to show it.
Oh, this is special because we're not allowed to do this at all. So you get these.
I sent Eric a text and was like, "Hey man, can I show one word bubble from one panel?" And he's like, "Yes, please." Especially once I showed him what panel. Guys, this book is so far off the hinges and off the rails. I can't even begin to tell you. Imagine if myself or Dan Wickline didn't have a beard, rode around on his Vespa wearing only a thong.
Can I unimagine that, please?
Please. But then imagine that we were the sons of Odin in a post-apocalyptic world where we have to defeat, like, Jeff from the Buy More from Chuck, who is a technomancer.
Okay.
And Billy Mitchell, the guy from King of Kong, who is King Shit, SCHITT. Like, oh, and our partner is legally not Chitara. Like, legally different from Chitara. But her creature that she rides is a cat with Prince Eric's head. Like, when I say off the rails, off the rails. And again, there are goblins called knob goblins who it's supposed to be a joke. The first one, the one that's just the talk bubble, Jay, not the one that's 3 panels. The whole thing about it is like, that's a joke about a certain thing, but no, these guys are just obsessed with doorknobs and handles of things, and so they're always trying to give you gifts of doorknobs. Like, just okay, there you go.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, with dialogue like that.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh.
That reminds me of my favorite other panel is where it's like bad guys that are running away and they say, "Oh, my pancreas."
Right. That's Jen. I will send you the 3 panel shot that I wanted to show that Eric's like, maybe don't. It seems inappropriate for the internet, but I loved it. It's pretty great. There is but this book is just an unhinged Eric Powell style mythological post-apocalyptic gods versus humans versus at one point the minions of the Technomancer become verified, where he puts a check mark on their head, and then he talks about how he's going to charge them $11.99 a month or $114.99 a year to be verified. And they go, there is no verification. There is no verified afterlife. We live, we die. There is no verification. But they're, like, it's just a dumb thing. And then, like, the king or the Technomancer is making out with Lester's mom, and it just gets really uncomfortable for a minute. Like, this book is just off the rails and hysterical and funny, and it's Eric Powell goodness. Read it. Don't ask questions.
I say 1,000 points for the reference of Winger.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, yeah. That was pretty funny. There is a great Winger reference in this book. So
it takes me back to the pool hall. Okay.
Sure.
Penguin number 11. I think this is a 12-issue series. I feel like it could go on forever if I'd like to. Go ahead, Tom King. Just keep going. In the last issue, Penguin had to deal with his kids that showed up, who he thought were like, kind of on his side, but he should have known better. He's taught them real well. So we had to deal with them in the last issue, and he now seems to have lost all of, that momentum he's been gaining, where like he's just been brutal and is just laying waste to all of his enemies and, making it clear to the city that he does rule everything. Well, all of a sudden now, it appears that someone has stolen all of his monies that he's been socking away in his secret underground, whatever. And there's weird. It's in its place is something that make you believe that someone that we also know from this universe has it now, and not who you think. But this is cool because you get to see him kind of like read down on it. Appears to be his low point, where they're like, you're nobody now. But that's where he started. And we thought he was a nobody then. And then we saw him laying waste. So let's see. Is this a cycle that's going to continue? I'm excited.
Are you watching the Resident Alien television program? Have you read the Resident Alien television or Resident Alien comic type books?
I have only watched the first episode and then got distracted by other streaming somethings.
Fair. I haven't read Resident Alien in a couple of years. I did watch the first season of the show, and I've since stopped watching the show. Not because I don't want to watch the show, but we've already discussed. Like, I'm in the middle of this poorly timed out Doctor Who thing, and like there's a bunch of others. Like, anyway. this really just is another volume. Thus far, it's the first issue. It's number 1 of this volume, Book of Life. Just continues that story. It's the same tone. It's the same voice. It's the same humor. It's the same action. It's the same everything. Just continuing on what we've all known and loved thus far. I would not say this is covering new ground in the Resident Alien universe yet. It could, but it is not in issue 1. So this is a perfect pickup for people who already like this or who need more Alan Tudyk in their lives.
Okay. You guys have been seeing a bunch of teasers for this series. If you picked up a free comic book day book, you got teased with this. If you picked up the most recent DC Direct, you got teased with this. And I think we've already had one tie-in to it. So you should be super primed, right? Just know that if you've also been reading the Batman series or I'm trying to think what else it ties to, there's other storylines that it directly ties to. So it's not something that's just like, here, we're going to throw in an event. This is something that's happening as everything else is happening. Waller has a plan, just like always. She's always way ahead, so far ahead of everybody else. She's gathering people together that have abilities that she needs. She really is, she's always trying to conquer the world, but she has ties to, like, references other bits that have happened in previous series. So if you are also reading the Suicide mini-series, there's 2 of them going on. I can't remember if it's the one that's tied to the video game or the other one, but it also references that. So this is great. This one actually has a bunch of bits, stories, and then jumps you into, it gives you a prelude. Basically, it gives you the first few pages of the actual Absolute Power book that's coming. So you can decide whether you want to add it to your polls. I will say, if you ever thought to yourself, I want to jump into DC, but it's overwhelming, I don't know what to do, you might jump in here because it gives you an easy access point. But it also doesn't mean you're going to have to do something forever, right? You can read this storyline and its tie-ins and then decide whether you like any of these other books that it ties to and jump to those guys. So, good place. Aww.
Okay. I'm going to do this book a disservice.
Aww.
I read it after Lester of the Lesser Gods. You cannot go from that dirty to this clean.
This wholesome,
this wholesome, and enjoy it. Like, your brain just can't switch gears that fast. At least my brain can't.
You just expect at some point he's going to drop a curlicue at bomb?
Yes. Or that it would be somehow dark in some way or something. And no. This is the Sonic the Hedgehog one-shot summer special. And I will say this. If you have a kid in your life who likes the Sonic video games, likes the Sonic movies, or maybe doesn't even know about Sonic, but they just know the characters and like the characters because it's the hip thing to be into, grab them this one. I can't say it's good. I can't say it's bad. I can say it's Sonic.
Okay.
I was unable to fully comprehend the plot because, again, Lester of the Lesser Gods. You're going to see a theme with the other books. Hold on. Jay, go back. You're going too fast. You're going to see a theme with the books I read after Lesser of Lesser Gods. But this is a classic Sonic kind of, here's the bad guy, here's the good guy, Sonic's the good guy, Sonic's teams are good guys, here's the bad guy, they're going to do a thing, classic, almost Scooby-Doo-ish sort of, action adventure kind of thing. Super fun, super light. There are jokes in here for grown-ups and kids. Like, jokes grown-ups won't get, jokes kids won't get. It's very Shrekish in that way, where there's something for everybody. So again, if you've got a kid in your life and you're looking to get him a comic book, don't buy them Lester of Lesser Gods. Buy them this.
All right, Magic. This is a cool tie-in to the Blood Hunt. What do we know about Magic? She's pretty magical. This is going to be going back and telling a tale that's kind of not origin-y, but tells a little bit about her childhood. And another namesake that's very close to her, Ileana. This feels like she encounters other characters that are part of the main storyline that assume less of her than they should. I think that she's fairly important. You know, with a last name like Rasputin, you should, you know, be thought of a little more seriously. So, good tie-in to the main storyline. Oh.
Okay. William of Newbury is essentially if John Constantine was a raccoon. I don't really need to say a whole lot more than that.
That's perfect setup.
About this book. In this issue, William of Newbury is kind of torn between the whole I'm running from a gang of thieves because I've taken one of their members as my, you know, my ward and my helper, and I'm running from my brothers in the ministry because they don't want me doing the work I'm doing. And I'm still a priest, so I have things I have to do, like give last rites and protect people and vanquish demons.
Mm-hmm.
And it's this kind of, you find him, this is a travel episode, a travel issue, going between the battle of the last issue and what will be the battle of the next issue. But you kind of see that, hey, we need to keep moving. We can't. I have a duty to these things. I have to help them cross over. But no, we need to keep going. But no, I need to, you know. And, oh, hey, there's a demon. Well, let me deal with the demon and then we'll keep moving. You know, stuff like that. I really think Michael Avon Oeming is telling a really interesting story here. I think the kind of watercolor art that he's doing is very interesting in this book. It works really well. I just felt like this book might have been a little slow. But again, I read it after Lester, so not enough poop jokes.
Oh, this was dope. Okay. I talk to people all the time about why there's a big difference between what we saw in Endgame, Infinity War, that stuff, and what happens in the actual Infinity Gauntlet, the book, which is Thanos' entire motivation is really to catch the eye of Death, who is a woman, who he has the hots for. He has decided in his own head that if he destroys half of everything that exists, all life in the universe, that Death might gaze upon him. That's his only hope. He has no reason to believe that this is true because she hasn't said that. So just know that. That's a frame of reference you need to know for this book, which is awesome. So in this book, Death has died, and he has gathered her essence together and made a new infinity gem. It's the Death Gem. So that is the premise. He doesn't know how to use it. It won't work for him. He's like, even in this form, when I try to give you some kind of life, you still won't do anything for me. So we find out in this is the premise is that all the rest of the Infinity Gems, which were previously thought destroyed, have reappeared and kind of combined themselves with humans. I guess they're humans. So it's different. They're not wearing them. They're not stuck in their, I guess they're not stuck in their bodies. They are part of them. Kind of like Kobik was for the Tesseract. Although I don't see Kobik, which makes me mad because, come on, she has to bring Kobik back. And this is really just like a head-to-head fight between Thanos, he believes that if he now gets the rest of the Infinity Stones back together, it will give his Death Stone some kind of like power if it's near them to actually start doing what he wants it to do, which is, death. I know he's not all that bright.
If he has all of the stones, why wouldn't he just create love potion number 9?
I don't know. But it's a great tale. This is a cool. All the new characters are cool. I like it.
All right. This is going to be real fast. Set in Russia during the Cold War. This is a murder mystery story. You have one detective who seems honest and a bunch of detectives who are not. He's trying to do his job while not getting any real help. This continues where the last one left off. Which is to say, we're trying to solve a murder. Again, it's a very procedural book. There's not a big gun battle. There's not a big, this is a big point that I need to mention because it's a selling point. It's not. There's not really that. This is just the next procedural in the procedure. So, good if you liked Sanction 1. If you didn't read Sanction 1, you can probably still get it a lot of places. But if you can't, this is a wait for the trade situation.
Mm-hmm. Big twisty stuff happening here. You remember the Spectacular SpiderMan started out as a tale of Miles and Pete just trying to get together and having coffee one day a week at their favorite coffee bar. Well, in the last issue, the coffee bar patrons and baristas have been missing. They just disappeared. They don't know where they went. They don't understand what's going on. This issue will let you know what's happening. Reality might not be what everybody thinks it is. And it's kind of heartbreaking because I was liking where the relationships in this one were going. So it's a mind-blowing issue. Jump in here, you'll be fine.
I like the things. This book was hard. I like the things that Gotcha Man spawned, like Speed Racer and some of the other sort of Americanized adaptations of Gotcha Man. And I like that Cullen Bunn has given this a more modern sensibility than traditional Gotcha Man has had. Not for me. Gotcha Man is just not a character that I'm super into. I wanted to give it a shot because it's Cullen Bunn and because I like the things that spun out of it. But this universe just is not. It ain't superhero, but it ain't not superhero. And it just feels forced and awkward.
Yeah.
Again, Cullen Bunn giving it modern sensibility is dope, but it isn't for me. Again, if you're into that sort of, if you're a Lore Olympus person or you're a manga adapted to comic book person, this is for you. I'll stick with the cartoons.
Okay. This was such a joy. Oh my gosh. So Giant Size Little Marvel, as you probably have noticed, they've been putting out a variant for almost every single Marvel book, starring one of the Scotty Young versions, little chibi versions of a ton of characters. And that continues this week. But also, this is the book where it all kind of culminates. There are, I think it's 3 or 4 stories told in here, and they are just adorable. It is, imagine if you took your superheroes, they still have their powers and all that kind of stuff, but also they're kids, so they have kid sensibilities. And, you know, like you don't have the passcode to get into the treehouse. So, you know, if it's your treehouse and you made up the password, but no one will lower the rope ladder for you, that kind of feels like, you know, it might be a trigger warning. I don't know. Maybe this will trigger you. Maybe you had that kind of jotted. But anyway, it's like it has stories in here like Tony Stark has a competition to make a new suit for him. And it's really funny to see the different personalities that are trying to build super suits for him and what they look like. It's delightful. This is an all ages book. You will love it as an adult. You'll find it super awesome. And if you want to have something to share that's superhero that you don't have to worry about there being anything naughty in it, with any age, this is the right place. So I say this is a good book to grab up a bunch of copies of now and give as stocking stuffers. You know, if you have family members you want to convert into comic lovers. 2 of every Scotty, yeah, it's probably hurt your pocketbook. All right, Spectagraph. The first issue is very emotionally charged. You have a storyline where you've got this super rich guy and his. I don't think they have a relationship, but I don't think they're married. It's his true love. We'll just say they treat each other interestingly. We'll say that. So these 2 guys come up with a plan to try to unlock immortal life or forever, like unlimited life. They've taken a house and essentially try to make it a lens in which they can try to focus someone's energy into and like capture them in the house. Like they become part of the house. That's the premise. In the first issue, we met this girl and a real estate agent. The real estate agent gets called out to go and show this house to this like weirdo goth group who ends up being part of this cult that is trying to do this thing, right? And she is desperate enough and a bad parent enough that she decides she can't find anyone to watch her kid. So she leaves her little kid in the high chair and goes off to show this house. The problem is now that she is now locked in this house. And you'll probably figure out in this issue what I think that I figured out about this issue. About she probably never going home. And it's just like, I can't, it's so hard to read these when they like show little pictures of the kid crying in the chair. And I'm just like, I can't, this is like, hurts my mama heart so bad. This is such great creative writing. You get to hear all of the reasons why this other girl is there, what she has been intending to do as part of this, weird organization. It's a dark, as you can see, it has a bunch of this kind of imagery where the ghosts are basically, entire limbic systems of what look like people. It's very, very gritty, awesome team writing. We made it!
Yay, we made it. All right, guys. Just know that Jay will be in this spot next week, and I will be behind the scenes for Jay. We're going to do that for a little while to try to free up some production time between the 2 of us. That's a little behind the scenes baseball here at The Experience. Because we're both super swamped, but neither of us really want to stop reading comics and doing the show. So we're going to try this for a while and try and bring you on some new voices of opinion here on the show. So we're working on all of that. In the meantime, 3 things are super important. 1 is that Miss Jen will be over on CBSN in about 5 minutes from now with your opportunity to buy these comics, some of the comics from today that come out tomorrow, that kind of stuff. Or Mint Hunter will be right here slinging really cool back issues, I think, for under $50. Everything on the show will be under 50-ish, I believe. And then following him is Henri here tonight. Honest Henri from Chicago. He will be here tonight doing his $2 comic thing. In the meantime, also, it is important to us that you go to your local comic shop. If you don't go to local comic shops, what will happen to the children?
Their future.
Or the local comic shop owners who can't afford to eat ramen. Go to your local comic shop and spend $5, please. If you don't know where your local comic shop is, find one at comicshoplocator.com. Just go to comicshoplocator.com, type in the numbers of the place where you are, and it will tell you where there are comic shops nearby to you. Or if you have any location services enabled on your web browser, it will tell you where they are without you having to type anything, because I can never remember what numbers to type. So, if you head over to comicshoplocator.com, it will tell you where there are comic shops. Give them a buzz. Be like, hi, I'm coming to visit. What should I let you know about? Or what can you let me know about what's happening in your store? That kind of stuff, and make the best decisions. I'm going to a new comic shop tomorrow that I've never been to for a comic book club.
Ooh, I like that.
Where we are going to be discussing the trade paperback of The Death of Captain America.
Ooh.
And we're all it's a book club at a comic book shop where we're discussing The Death of Captain America trade paperback. So that'll be super fun. So find a local comic shop, find out what they have going, and then go there all the time. That'd be great. Stick around for other great shows. The rest of the week, we have some great stuff coming up for you this week. And we will see everybody back here next week. Same bat time, same Lester of Lesser Gods channels.